Okay, I'm going to talk about Writing Myths, which is a new book by the University of Michigan Press, edited by Joy Reid. Joy Reid, a very renowned scholar in our field, past president of TESOL, and she, if anyone knows something about ESL composition, it would be Joy Reid. And in this volume, Joy has put together several chapters written by different scholars in our field on topics related to second language writing. I had a chance to know this book better because I used it in a graduate course this semester at the University of Central Florida, a graduate course called Teaching, Reading, and Writing in TESOL, or ESL. And for this course, we've taught it several times and we used different books, but this is the first time that I had a book that I thought covered all the areas that I wanted my graduate students, especially the novice teachers, but at the same time the scholars in our program who actually might pursue a PhD down the road. They needed a graduate level book that covered a diverse area of composition topics, subtopics such as the role of vocabulary in writing, corpus linguistics, and of course the number one question that all writing teachers have in their mind, which is how do I grade these papers? How do I mark these papers? Do I even mark these papers? So by way of background, I had the students buy 3 books this semester. Our theory book with practical information as well was Writing Myths, and then I also had them buy an ESL writing book and an ESL reading book. And just for those who are professors who have this kind of course, our students are very concerned about the cost of the textbooks that they buy, so I encourage them to buy used copies on the internet of the reading book and the writing book, and of course they got a copy of this book from the University of Michigan Press, Writing Myths. This book, to me, was a no-brainer of a choice, really, because although I can find books on teaching writing that start from step 1, how to put together a curriculum, and maybe cover how to correct papers, I have not seen a book on teaching writing that covered such a diverse area of topics, but at the same time gave me some freedom to run the course the way I wanted. The other textbooks that I've seen in the market that really tell you how to teach writing from day one, in my opinion, end up being books that really I'm going to have to spend all my time with that book. In other words, that book is going to run the course. This book left me a lot of leeway in how I wanted to cover the materials, the topics. In fact, I actually started with the last myth in the book, or the last chapter I should say, which is one that was written by Joy, because in that chapter she talks about a little bit about teaching writing in general, but also other myths that were not covered in the book. So for the first week I had my students read the preface, obviously, which talks about the layout of the book, the contents of the book, etc., the table of contents, and I started with the last chapter. And then after that we skipped around, and that's one of the real pluses of this book, is that no chapter depends on any other chapter. So you could start with chapter 1 just as easily as chapter 6. I think the topics or the chapters that my students enjoyed the most would be the chapters on corpus linguistics, the chapter on vocabulary, and the chapter on error correction. And again, the error correction might be the strongest chapter in this book, in my opinion again, because I'm talking about this in terms of teaching the course. My students really like that chapter because when they think about teaching writing, none of them at this level really think about putting together a course or what they should have the students write about. They all sort of assume, unfortunately, that there's going to be a writing textbook. And you know how teachers are these days. Teachers pick up a book, and especially novice teachers pick up a book, and whatever it says to do on page 1, that's what they do. And that's what my teachers, for the most part, are still doing, because they're green when it comes to teaching writing. But in any case, I would like to recommend this book to you. I think it was a very good book. I know I'll be using it again. Another strength of this book, now that I think about it, are the questions that are found after each chapter, questions for discussion. Obviously we didn't use all of those, but there are more than enough questions than you would like to cover in a chapter, a class discussion on that chapter. But the questions are right there, and they served as a very good foundation for our class discussions. So I recommend this book strongly.